He was a billionaire who set his own house on fire, with his disabled son still inside. But no one expected the horse in the backyard to do the unthinkable and uncover a secret that shocked all of America. The sky was unusually calm that evening, painted with streaks of lavender and orange. But inside the sprawling estate of Maxwell Sterling, everything reeked of tension, control, and quiet despair. Maxwell was the kind of man who wore his arrogance like a tailored suit, flawless, expensive, and suffocating. At 47, he had already built and sold 3 tech startups, graced the covers of Forbes and Entrepreneur, and delivered TED Talks with titles like The Power of Ruthlessness. In Silicon Valley, they called him the Ice King. But at home, he was simply Dad, a title he wore reluctantly. His son, Noah, was nothing like him. Noah was 10, wheelchair-bound from birth with cerebral palsy. He didn't speak much, but when he did, it was often to apologize for things he didn't do. His eyes were wide and luminous, brimming with silent questions. To Maxwell, Noah was a glitch in the perfect algorithm of his life, a mistake that had slipped through quality control. A reminder of weakness. Of failure. And so he locked Noah away. The east wing of the estate had once been a wine cellar and storage area. Now, it was a lonely prison outfitted with medical equipment, padded flooring, and a single window that never opened. Nurses came and went like shadows, never lasting long, always terrified of Maxwell's cold, calculated rage when anything was out of order. Only one creature lingered. A horse. The stallion's name was Valor. A gift from Maxwell to himself after closing a $90 million deal, Valor was a towering black Arabian with intelligent eyes and a nervous disposition. Strangely, he had taken a liking to Noah. Every morning, he would trot from the stable to the edge of the east wing's side yard, just beneath the small grated window. There, he'd nuzzle the wall, and Noah, from inside, would smile and gently knock back 3 soft taps that meant I'm here. Valor would stay for hours. Maxwell hated that. He often muttered about selling the horse, replacing it with a faster, sleeker breed, something more befitting a man of his stature. But something always held him back. Maybe it was the way Valor stomped protectively when Maxwell approached too close to the east wing. Maybe it was guilt. Or fear. Then came the fire. It happened on a Friday. Maxwell's company was tanking. Investors were pulling out, lawsuits were being whispered, and most damning of all, he'd received a letter. A handwritten letter, sealed with red wax, addressed not to his office, but to his home. There was no return address. Only one line inside. I know what you did in Geneva. The color drained from his face as he read it. Geneva was a secret buried so deep, even his lawyers didn't know. Only 2 people alive ever knew. And one of them, his wife, was now dead. Or so he thought. Maxwell began spiraling. By midnight, he downed half a bottle of bourbon. He stormed into the east wing, eyes glassy, fists clenched. Noah trembled in his chair, uncertain but sensing the danger in the air. Maxwell looked at him with disgust, as if blaming him for everything that had gone wrong. You're the anchor, you hear me? He spat. You've held me back for years. Noah whimpered, clutching a plush stuffed horse Valor's former caretaker had given him. Maxwell snapped. I should have let you go with her, he hissed. Then, like a man possessed, he lit the curtains with a match. Within minutes, flames licked the corners of the room. Maxwell staggered back into the main hall, grabbing his keys. But before he could make it to the front door, something cracked, the barn door. Valor. The horse had broken free. The stallion galloped across the lawn like a missile, eyes wild, mane streaking behind him like a shadow in flight. He crashed through the side yard fence, his hooves pounding toward the fire. Maxwell turned around just in time to see Valor rear up and kick down the side door of the east wing with shocking force. Then everything happened fast. Smoke poured from the building. A neighbor's security camera, later leaked to the press, captured the exact moment, the horse nudging Noah's wheelchair toward the broken opening, neighing frantically, as if calling for help. Sirens wailed in the distance. And Maxwell? He didn't wait. He sped away in his black Mercedes, leaving his son, his burning home, and everything behind. It should have ended there. But it didn't. Because the footage went viral. Horse saves disabled boy from arson. Mystery hero horse rescues child from fire. Where was the father? The headlines blazed brighter than the fire itself. By morning, the estate was in ashes. Noah was safe, shaken, burned in one arm, but alive. Valor stood beside him, his coat singed, breathing heavy but unscathed. That was when the world began asking questions. And secrets started crawling back from the dead. Noah awoke in a hospital room that smelled faintly of antiseptic and lavender. The sun streamed through the windows, and beside him stood a nurse with warm eyes and a gentle voice. But Noah didn't speak. He hadn't spoken since the fire. Instead, his fingers gripped tightly to the mane of a stuffed toy, one scorched ear and all. Valor. The real Valor was outside. A veterinary team had been dispatched from the state capitol the moment the story went viral. They treated the burns along the horse's flank, monitored his breathing, and marveled at how calm he remained, especially near Noah. The bond was undeniable. Wherever Noah was wheeled, Valor would follow, hooves echoing along hospital tiles or pacing behind glass walls. It wasn't long before the media flooded in. News vans. Reporters. Cameras. Microphones shoved into the faces of stunned nurses and confused neighbors. The video clip of Valor rescuing Noah was played on every major outlet, with sound bites like, "America's bravest horse. Where's the boy's father?" But that question had no answer. Maxwell Sterling had disappeared. Or so they thought. 2 days later, a reporter uncovered airport surveillance footage, Maxwell boarding a private jet bound for Zurich. Paid in cash. Under a fake name. From there, the trail went cold. Back in California, detectives launched an arson investigation. It didn't take long. The accelerant residues, the matchbox with Maxwell's initials, the history of abuse, all of it painted a damning picture. An arrest warrant was issued, and the FBI got involved. But none of that mattered to Noah. He still didn't speak. He didn't eat much. He barely slept. His world had burned, and even though Valor stood by his side, faithfully and silently, there was an emptiness inside him that couldn't be soothed by hooves or headlines. Until she arrived. Her name was Rachel. At first, the nurses thought she was just another social worker, young, mid-30s, blazer over a faded blouse, hair pulled back like she hadn't slept properly in weeks. But when she walked into Noah's room, something happened. Noah looked up. His fingers twitched. Valor stirred. Rachel knelt beside him and whispered softly, "It's okay now. You're safe." Tears slid down Noah's cheeks for the first time since the fire. Rachel wasn't just a social worker. She was his mother. And she was supposed to be dead. 10 years earlier, Rachel Sterling had vanished from public view. One day, she was the smiling wife of Maxwell, the next, she was gone. The official story was a tragic car crash in the Alps. No body. No funeral. Just a closed casket and an inheritance. But the truth was far worse. Maxwell had staged it. He paid 2 mercenaries and an unethical doctor to forge documents, create a false death certificate, and threaten Rachel into silence after she tried to expose what she found in his Geneva bank account, a slush fund tied to human experimentation contracts, bribery, and offshore exploitation of disabled children under a fake nonprofit. She ran. And she hid. Living off-grid for nearly a decade, Rachel waited for the day she could safely reclaim her son. But that day never came, until the fire. The viral footage of Valor broke the internet. And it broke her cover. Now, reunited with Noah, Rachel began piecing together what Maxwell had truly done, not just to her, but to their son, to their name, and to a string of whistleblowers who'd mysteriously vanished over the years. But she wasn't alone. A former FBI agent, Marcus Dent, had also seen the video. He had history with Maxwell, an old case that was buried before it could reach court. He contacted Rachel with one cryptic message: "I still believe you. And I know how to bring him down." Together, they reopened the Geneva files. And they weren't ready for what they found. Maxwell wasn't just hiding. He was preparing. From Zurich, he had been funneling funds into shell companies across Hong Kong, Belarus, and the UAE. He had hired a private security team. And most disturbingly, he had been tracking Rachel since the video aired. She was no longer safe. Noah wasn't safe. Valor, still at the hospital stables, became their only constant guardian. Then, one stormy night, a note was left in the stall. "You should have burned with the boy." Rachel's hands trembled as she held it. Marcus scanned the writing. It wasn't Maxwell's hand. Someone else. Someone closer. Someone inside. They were being watched. And worse, they were being hunted. That night, Rachel sat by Noah's bedside and whispered through tears, "I should have never left you. But I'm here now, and I'm not running anymore." Noah reached up slowly and touched her cheek. His first word in weeks. "Mom." She collapsed into his arms, sobbing. Valor nickered softly in the hallway, sensing something had shifted. The boy had found his voice. The mother had found her courage. And the shadows were starting to close in. It rained for 3 straight days after Noah spoke again. Like the sky was trying to wash away 10 years of silence, pain, and fire. Rachel and Marcus moved Noah to a secured safe house outside Monterey, an old ranch property owned by Marcus's late uncle. Far from cities, cameras, and curious neighbors. Just trees, hills, and quiet. But most importantly, stables. Valor adapted immediately. Every morning, the stallion would pace the window outside Noah's new room, tapping his hoof twice. Noah would smile, now stronger, more alert. He even started speaking in whispers, telling Rachel short stories about Valor, remembering lullabies she used to hum. It was healing. But the threat was still there. The note in the stall proved Maxwell had contacts inside U.S. soil. Marcus began digging deeper. He traced offshore payments to a private investigator in San Diego and a set of encrypted messages linked to an old associate of Maxwell's, a man named Elliot Grange, known for laundering political bribes through disabled orphanage foundations. Then came the second twist. Rachel received a manila envelope under her door, no return address. Inside was a single USB drive and a printed photo. The photo was of Maxwell. But not in Zurich. He was in California. The timestamp showed he had been at a private horse auction just days ago, mere miles from their safe house. Marcus checked the USB. Inside were dozens of files, images, bank records, and one audio clip. In it, Maxwell's voice could be heard speaking to an unknown man. "She's not just a threat to me anymore. She has the boy. If the fire didn't work, maybe the forest will." Rachel dropped the drive. The words felt like gasoline poured over her spine. That night, Valor refused to sleep. He paced, snorted, neighed against the barn door. Something was wrong. Marcus took his rifle and patrolled the perimeter. At 3:12 a.m., gunshots rang out. Rachel ran to Noah's room and locked the door, holding him tightly, heart pounding. In the darkness, a silhouette moved through the trees, then another. Armed men. 3 of them. Infrared gear. Muffled comms. But before they could reach the house, a sound shattered the stillness. A scream. Not human. A roar. Hooves. Valor came charging from the trees like a ghost of vengeance. Mane soaked, eyes blazing, he slammed into the first intruder with enough force to crack ribs. The man screamed as he was thrown into a tree. The second raised his rifle, but Marcus fired first. The third ran. He didn't get far. Valor chased him into the thicket and cornered him against a ravine, nostrils flaring, teeth bared like a creature possessed. Marcus arrived seconds later and tackled the man to the ground. He wasn't just muscle. He was Elliot Grange's personal security. And under questioning, he revealed everything. Maxwell had returned 2 weeks ago, using a fake passport. He was funding a final push to reclaim control of the narrative, he said. He wanted Rachel and Noah gone, not for revenge, but to secure the IPO of a new biotech firm that would collapse if his past crimes came to light. Rachel's heart broke. Her son was a pawn in another empire. But now, they had a name. A timeline. Evidence. Marcus contacted a federal prosecutor in San Francisco, someone he trusted. A plan was put in place. The files from Geneva, the recordings, the statement from the captured mercenary, it would all be presented to a federal grand jury within 72 hours. But Maxwell was already moving again. And he had one more secret weapon. That evening, as Rachel stood beside Valor brushing his coat, an SUV pulled up near the fence. Out stepped an elderly woman in a lavender shawl. Rachel turned pale. Mom. It was her mother. She hadn't seen her in over a decade. Rachel rushed to embrace her, tears already falling. But the hug didn't feel right. She stepped back and saw the blinking red light tucked into the folds of her mother's scarf. A microphone. A tracker. Maxwell had found them again. And he had used her own family to do it. The next morning, Marcus received a call from an encrypted number. Maxwell's voice, cold and amused. You've taken everything from me. My name. My future. So I'll take what you can't protect. This ends where it began. They knew what that meant. Maxwell was going back to the ashes. To the ruins of the mansion he had burned. And he wanted them to follow. Rachel didn't hesitate. She packed Noah's things, loaded Valor into a trailer, and prepared for the confrontation. Marcus locked and loaded. No backup. No agents. Just them. Because this wasn't just about justice anymore. It was about redemption. For the boy who had been locked away. For the mother forced to vanish. For the horse who had saved them all. And for the truth, ready to rise from the fire once more. The drive to the Sterling estate ruins was silent. The hills loomed like sentinels under the setting sun, casting long shadows over the scorched earth where marble pillars once stood tall. Now, the land was just ash and silence, except for the wind and the hooves. Valor pawed at the ground when they arrived. His body was tense. Noah sat quietly in the trailer, holding his mother's hand. Marcus checked his weapon. The ruins still stank of smoke, even months later. But deeper than that was the scent of history, pain, power, and secrets buried beneath stone and fire. They didn't have to wait long. A second vehicle pulled up. Maxwell stepped out. He looked thinner. Hollow-eyed. The Ice King had melted into a man chasing ghosts. Yet, he still wore that tailored suit. Still held himself with artificial power. But this time, he didn't come alone. From the passenger side, a teenage boy stepped out. Dark curls. Pale skin. Sharp jawline. Rachel's breath caught in her throat. No. It was Jason. The child she was told had died at birth. Their firstborn. Maxwell's greatest secret. Jason stood awkwardly, his eyes searching Rachel's face with hesitant recognition. I thought you were dead, Rachel whispered. Maxwell smirked. I told him the same about you. And Noah. Rachel's knees weakened. Jason had been hidden. Raised under a false name, homeschooled, shaped into Maxwell's ideal, cold, brilliant, compliant. Until recently. Jason stepped forward, hesitant. I found the news clips, the fire, the horse. That's my brother? Rachel nodded slowly, tearfully. Maxwell rolled his eyes. Don't get sentimental now, Jason. I raised you for more than this. But something broke in Jason's expression. No, he said. You didn't raise me. You controlled me. Maxwell's face twisted, surprised, but not for long. Because he had one last move to play. from behind the trailer, another figure emerged. It was one of his old mercenaries, armed, silent, deadly. A final warning. Marcus aimed his weapon immediately. Tension cracked like thunder between them. But before anyone could fire, Valor charged. The stallion exploded from the side field like a bullet, hooves pounding like war drums. He barreled toward Maxwell and reared up, letting out a cry that shook the bones of everyone present. Maxwell stumbled back, tripped over rubble, and fell. And for the first time in his life, he looked small. Weak. Breakable. Rachel rushed to Jason and pulled him into an embrace. Noah, from the trailer, reached toward them both. And then came the sirens. Marcus had leaked everything. The files, the audio, the footage. Live. As they stood on the estate ruins, the FBI descended. Agents swarmed. Guns were drawn. Maxwell was arrested on the spot, charged with attempted murder, conspiracy, financial fraud, and international crimes against vulnerable populations. The mercenaries surrendered. Jason, for the first time, smiled, not because his father fell, but because he chose the truth. It was over. 3 months later. Noah stood in a paddock, braces on his legs, Valor beside him. He could walk now. Slowly. Carefully. Every step, the stallion matched beside him. Rachel worked with federal investigators to help uncover the full network Maxwell built and dismantle it. Jason applied for college, using his real name. Marcus? He finally reopened the whistleblower protection firm he'd abandoned years ago. But most of all, the world had changed because of a boy, a horse, and the fire meant to destroy them both. Rachel sat on the porch at sunset, Noah asleep beside her, Valor grazing near the fence. She looked into the camera. People ask me if I regret going into hiding. If I regret trusting the wrong man. If I regret staying quiet for so long. I don't regret surviving. But I regret not fighting sooner. Sometimes, we think silence will protect us. That obedience is safer. That the system will fix itself. But it won't, unless we break it open. My son was locked away. But he didn't give up. My horse saw what no one else did. And now, we speak. We stand. We rise. Wherever you are, if you're hurting, trapped, or silenced, please don't wait for a fire to set you free. Start with a whisper. Then walk. Then run. This is more than a story, it's a mirror. A reminder that evil often hides in luxury. That the most vulnerable need a voice. And sometimes, it's not a lawyer or a camera crew that saves the day, but a horse, a child, and the courage to speak. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Support your local child protection or animal rescue group. Or simply, never ignore the signs of silence. Because someone, somewhere, is waiting for someone like you to notice.